Okay.
It might be.
That was a good amp up to start the stuffing things.
Got the blood flowing.
Okay, now it's time to talk about serious stuff.
Yeah, talk about serious stuff.
Because some serious shit is happening, and it immediately got turned into other serious shit, which might not be the right shit.
It might not be the right shit.
What do we know? What do we know?
Okay, so what's this dude's name? Yesterday at 5:11 p.m., a man named Jacob Blake.
That sounds sort of right.
I think that I might be getting the last name wrong. I should probably know before I say. But dude got shot by cops. And
A lot.
Yeah, he got shot a lot.
In a car that he was climbing into where his kids were present.
Yes.
But that's just the story that's being perpetuated right now. Like, that is true. Those statements are all true. But this altercation did not start in that fashion. The video immediately got shown, and it was
a 10-second clip.
It was a 10-second clip of the total altercation where 5 cops were present.
I think 5 were present, but 3 were only like right by him.
And
So-
were the reports that he had been tased already, were those true?
Yes.
Okay, so this was a man who was already in an altercation with the cops. He was tased. He resisted the taser, which, kind of ballsy. Props. I don't know if I could resist a taser. That's some heavy shit.
Yeah.
And then the reports are also saying that he did have a knife on him. And then after those things were already ascertained by the cops, he started walking to his car, and 2 cops I saw in the video had guns drawn on him and were ordering him to stop. And then he opens the car door. A cop makes a half-assed effort to grab his shirt, and then he gets into his car, and the cop shoots him. Not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 7 fucking times.
7 times.
In a car that his children were in. So we have this situation that is entirely fucked on all of the levels, because on the one hand, he's not doing what a normal person would do in a police altercation.
Yeah.
On the other hand, the police acted abhorrently in the way that they moved forward with their actions to stop.
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure everybody has seen the video now at this point.
It's super
if you
viral.
haven't, you probably just don't own internet.
Which, how are you watching us?
Right. But I'm pretty sure everybody's seen it at this point. The main thing, when I first saw the video yesterday, I was pretty grossed out by it.
I mean, we were really upset. We were like, that fucking cop, dude. How could, why? Why would that be your response?
Yeah, for sure. And immediately my reaction was like, that cop was absolutely wrong for doing that. And after watching the video a couple times, I still thought there were multiple moments where this dude was like getting up and starting to walk around the car.
The suspect.
Where the cops absolutely could have done something, tackled him or whatever.
Apprehended him, done something to stop him. Because the fear, if you haven't thought about it, the fear of someone who you are having an altercation with as a cop, the suspect walking to their car, the taught fear to the police officers is they are getting a weapon. Could be a shotgun, could be an assault rifle, could be something that escalates the problem well above what the cops can handle in their current situation.
Right.
And that is what they are trained to think.
Yes, and necessarily, honestly, because I have seen many videos where just normal traffic stops, cop walks up to the side of the car and says, "Hey, what's going on?" All of a sudden, the person in the car literally just flips around, bang, 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 shoots the cops and drives away. In a snap. In a snap, they're just waiting waiting, and then just pull the gun and shoot him. Like I've seen multiple videos like that happen.
It does happen. I won't disagree with that.
And so it makes sense, man. Like when you're a cop and you're in these situations, like it's you or them. Like it's your life or it's their life.
But
And-
in no way are we condoning the way that this happened.
right. There were definitely multiple.
We're just trying to look at
times.
both viewpoints of this altercation while still believing that it was wrong how it happened.
Right. And this is, we might disagree a little bit because I've
Good.
been watching a lot of stuff, kind of breaking down more of the context of what was going on because we didn't get any context. It
No.
was a 10-second clip in the video, and that was it. But supposedly, I had seen multiple images of this guy holding like a knife in his hand. So basically, I have a thing here that I pulled an image
It's
from.
got the stuff.
Yeah, I pulled an image from this, and it is in here. And that's not what I'm looking for. This is what I'm looking for. Okay, so. Where is it? It's on my other desktop. Okay, so right
Technology.
here. Here we go. I don't know if you want to read that.
Sure. Police were called because Jacob Blake was waving a knife around in a gas station. While en route, dispatch informed police that Blake had an outstanding warrant in regard to his recent sexual assault and domestic abuse charges. Police deployed the taser, and it failed. Jacob Blake declared he had a gun in the car and was going to go get it. He continued to brandish the knife while disregarding officer commands. When he reached into the car, officers fired. Okay, see, that is... Now, if this is in fact true, which...
And you can see in the image here, it looks like he has one of those, those knives that have like the little circle on the end. And they like have that like rounded blade at the end. Like it's like a tactical knife. Like it's like something that you would,
Yeah.
that's what it looks like he's holding right here.
Which would explain why officers are reluctant to physically grab, because those knives are meant to cut.
Yeah.
They're meant to do a lot of damage very quickly.
Right, for sure. And that's why, like, even my own first judgment of the situation was like, cops were wrong. Like, that's super fucked up. But then as I start looking in a little bit more, start bringing in, so I don't know, this image or this little story right here, I don't know how credible it is. Like, I have no idea if it's legit.
So we can't operate in a way that this is factual, but we
Right.
can look at an easily understandable situation and see how it plays into
Right.
how the situation played out.
Because it's right here, Jacob declared he had a gun in the car and was going to go get it. And the thing is, if you dig on this guy a little bit more, he was like, had a whole bunch of like anti-police stuff on his social media and was like fuck the pigs and like all this shit and they should all die and blah 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 and whatever. Like he had a lot of that on his social media, which makes sense because there's a lot of conflict. Like
there's a lot of
in the African American community with police, for many reasons that we can like dig down deeper on at some point.
Yeah, that's an entire other podcast.
That's the whole thing. But
the crux of that whole podcast will be, it's not who you think that made the world the way you see it today. The communities, the disenfranchisement. It's not. You would expect it to be a certain group of people holding certain political groups, and you would be wrong.
Yeah,
because it's actually been created by people you wouldn't expect.
Yeah, it's a lot more complicated than you
Yes.
think it is. So a lot of the stuff that I'm seeing now on social media at this point is people even who see that image are saying like it doesn't matter, just because you're guilty doesn't mean that you should be shot and all these things.
Which is valid.
Which
the
is
police should not be killing people even if they're guilty.
Right.
I agree with that.
I completely agree with that for sure. But there are situations. There are situations where if it's going to be the cop's life or the criminal's life, like the
Quote,
cops,
unquote.
the cops have the ability to use force like that because like
That is their designated
the thing
purpose,
is this
yeah.
dude had a prior history of like violence with firearms. Like first of all, he pulled out a firearm in a bar, and that was on his C cap. And then he also had an outstanding warrant for like third degree sexual assault, and that's what they were going to be arresting him for. And if you think about it, like somebody in that situation, like if you have a warrant out for your arrest and like cops are there and they have prior knowledge, like, hey, this person has a warrant out, like that, the person in that situation with nothing to lose is the person with the warrant. Like if they're like, I'm not going back to prison, I'm not doing this, I don't like, and they're going to try and do anything they can to get away and to fight that.
And if we're objectively, like, still not believing that little blurb we just saw is absolutely true. Objectively, what was he trying to accomplish by going to his car?
Right.
The options are he was getting a weapon or he was trying to flee. And I mean, neither one of those are acceptable outcomes for a bunch of law enforcement officers.
Right, especially with somebody who has a warrant out for the arrest for domestic abuse and third degree sexual assault.
And just playing out this situation, his kids were in the car. That one's a defined fact in this situation. Now, police are already after the guy. He was going to either get a weapon or he was going to drive away. The reasons to get in the car. He would then be driving away with police on his tail, with children in his car.
Right.
What are the possible outcomes of that? Like when you start playing out this story in the different ways that it could go, there aren't many options that were okay. And this is still stating that it's not okay to fucking shoot someone 7 times. Like, it's,
Well, the thing is, like, cops are trained to do that
which is wrong.
because not necessarily.
I do not,
Because
we've
if
disagreed on this a lot. I think the first 4 of like 6 rounds in a cop's gun should be non-lethal rounds. You can knock someone out with
That
one of those
equals-
fucking rounds.
To me, that equals dead cops, though. That equals
I-
dead cops.
I don't
Literally,
know if it
there was.
does.
I was just listening to Crowder talk about this. There was a cop who fired 2 rounds, like only shot guy 2 rounds, like hit him in like the sternum chest area in the stomach, and it ended up like getting shot himself because the dude like fought through being shot, like legit shot, bullets going through his body. And then also there's another story of a police officer who shot at a culprit or criminal, whatever the hell, hit him in the head, and it didn't kill him, didn't even make him unconscious. The bullet was like trapped in his skull, and the dude shot the cop after being shot in the head and drove himself to the hospital after being shot in the head by a cop. So it's like one bullet.
Okay. All right.
It's like that. They're trained to do that because it's like, if it's me or you, you better make sure that this guy it's them, because it like, if you're getting shot and just because you get hit by a bullet doesn't mean you're can't do anything. It doesn't.
I guess
mean you can't do
I've never been
anything.
in those situations where I've seen any of these things happen, and I have limited perspective on it.
Right, but the thing is, it's a grotesque situation, man. Like the situation itself is sad, it's tragic, and it's
Super fucked up.
it's terrible that like anybody even has to be in that situation in the first place. And I think people really quickly look at it and say, wow, it is so fucked up that happened, and they don't play out like, what if you were that police officer in that situation? First of all, you don't know everything that was happening, and it's very easy just to
judge it.
to judge it.
It goes back to that we as humans love simple answers, and right now the simple answer that's been going around is cops shoot black people, Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
And then we have to riot. But it's as valid as that statement could be, that is not what just happened. And now we can talk about, like, okay, so immediately after this came out, the response all across the internet was, this is more Black Lives Matter stuff. We need to riot. We need to burn things down. We need to stop this. And that's not the situation at all. It could have been like, unless we have information that shows that this was racially motivated,
Right.
there's no reason to jump to the conclusion that this is just another unjust killing, because there are unjust killings of Black Americans in this country that happen. Horrible miscarriages of justice that need to be fully flushed out, and the fucking murderers need to be in prison or worse, you know? Like, there needs to be some accountability, but in this situation, you can see how the politics of the day are wiping away the nuance of the situation.
Yeah.
Because now we're having riots.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, now at this point, the mob is the judge, jury, and executioner,
Which is horrible. That's how
because-
societies fall.
Like,
In every situation.
we have a judicial system for a reason,
Right.
And not to say that it doesn't have massive flaws. It has massive flaws. There's a lot of like fishy shit that goes on. There's a lot of protect your own type of stuff that happens, and that definitely has to be looked at. Like, that's not good things that are happening, but the judicial system in itself is there so this doesn't happen. Because for all you know, like, the situation that you're looking at that you think is plain as day isn't as simple, and you are going to ruin an innocent person's life.
That
you're
happens.
gonna kill them.
That happens all the time too. There's plenty of cases of people who have spent their entire adult lives in jail, and then they get exonerated because evidence comes to light. But it's just snap. Suddenly that person's life is over.
Yeah, that's why we have a process. And I understand that the reaction to this is people not trusting in that process anymore because there's been so many fucked up things.
Which is super valid.
Which is
I
very,
agree.
very valid.
Yeah, it's super fucked up, but we can't just...
I promise you that it is fucked up and it needs to be looked at, but the answer is not burn the whole thing to the ground.
No.
That's not the answer, because if you go in that direction and you go to the burn the whole thing to the ground, into the ground direction, like, that's going to have repercussions that you have absolutely no idea. You have no idea.
We've never lived in a world where
we're gonna
police
be
are completely gone.
We're going to be living in Mad Max, man.
It would be justice by the mob. And that doesn't sound so bad if you're part of the mob right now, but who's to say you're going to stay in that mob? Who's to say that at some point in the near future you're going to not agree with everything that's happening? And then suddenly you're outside of the mob, and I promise you, that doesn't look like justice anymore.
Right. It doesn't. And that's the thing that people aren't understanding is, like, yes, the system is flawed. Yes, there's a lot of injustices and there's a lot of bad things happening, but the alternative right now that people are pushing for is much worse.
Yeah.
It is much, 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 much worse. And the thing, I agree with people protesting police brutality.
I do
I
too.
agree with it. When things like there's justified situations, especially the
Breonna Taylor.
Breonna Taylor. I'm like right there, right behind.
Fuck those cops.
Like that is absolute
How
bullshit.
does that situation even happen?
And the same thing with this was a white guy, but the dude in the hotel hallway with a cop with an assault rifle.
When the guy laid down on the floor
Yeah.
and he was like, I'm complying, and then
just bang, 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 and it's like super fucked.
super fucked.
Super, super, super fucked.
It's not police brutality isn't just a race thing.
No, and it's the depth of why things are more, why it's much more present in the Black community. There's much more depth to that than people understand,
And we need to give that justice in a separate podcast because they are disenfranchised. They are unfortunately in a situation that's unjustified because there's no difference between a white person and a Black person and an Asian person. We're all people. We all matter the same. Like, these people have been forced into these situations where they don't have an opportunity for life like other fucking races do. Like, that doesn't even make sense.
Yeah.
They need a way to get out of these situations, but as it stands, they don't have it. And that needs to change. But as it stands, they do fall into the categories of doing more crime because they're in more poverty, and those are linked things. It's not that Black people are bad in any way, shape, or form. It's the situation that you are forced into and what you have to do in order to survive in those situations, and that elicits really unfortunate results.
Right.
And part of those results are more interactions with the police, which create more hate for the police because it feels like they are constantly putting you back down, which is unjust and terrible. But it's not it's not just a race
It's not
thing.
even about race, because
It's about humanity
you could
and
go
where
back.
you are, where you start. Like,
Yeah.
I think the wealth makes a huge difference. Like, if you start, like, regardless of race, if you start up higher in the socioeconomic world, you're not going to have problems with police unless you're doing like crazy shit. And the crazy shit that you end up doing is like, oh, I crashed my Lamborghini. And then the cops come over and they're like, here's all your fucking tickets, you jackwag. And they're like, fine, here's a bunch of money. And then they drive off because our justice system is fucked.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's like a part of the conversation that can be had. That's like where I agree with many of the things where it's like, yeah, like there's definitely things that need to be a lot better.
Yeah.
Like first of all, the times we live in are way different. Like the economic times that we live in are way different. Technology is way different. Like, and we're still functioning on this level that was for a very, very old, it's a history. We've fallen behind the times, basically. And there's a lot of things that we can do now at this point to fix these things. But the only way that we're actually going to get to a useful solution is if we talk about it. And
have these nuanced conversations. Like, I'm sure there are people out there right now who would completely write off everything we're saying and immediately start calling us racists. And it's like, that is more detrimental to your cause than having a conversation with us.
Right.
Like, we care. We want people to have justice for the things that have happened to them. We want people to be able to live their lives free and happy with food in their bellies and with the safety of their family. And like, we really want everybody to have a fucking chance at this life.
Yeah.
And we are grateful that we had the opportunities we have had. And we are very aware of the sort of opportunities that we have had. And we don't diminish those, and we wish everybody had them as we have had them.
Yeah. But there's also things that you have to take into consideration that aren't so intuitive. It's not like you just look at a situation and see, well, this person is doing this to this person, that means this. It's like, no, like there's probably 1,000 different reasons why a situation like this comes up, and we need to be able to pick apart each one of those things.
Yeah, until we understand all of the nuance of the situation, we should not be able to pass judgment. But it seems like that has been completely glossed over in our current society. It's been building in this way for so long that now we, like, the response to this, I do want to say, well, I'll say suspect. This suspect getting shot, the response has now been to burn everything down, to destroy businesses, to light cars on fire, to threaten police with semi-automatic rifles. And 10 years ago, if someone heard that, they would say, oh, the government collapsed. Everything has gone to shit and we live in anarchy.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's just this perpetuation and this seemingly like dulling down of like, oh, these people are doing this. Well, it's just a protest. It's like, no, a protest is peaceful. A protest is acting in a way that other people aren't getting fucking injured, murdered. You don't create good things out of death.
The thing is,
destruction.
The thing is, the people in this situation are so, and you can't really. They're bitter. Man. They're very bitter and they're very angry for the situations that they find themselves in, and things like the very unjust killings of people. It gives them an outlet and it gives them an opportunity to express that, and
there is a factor that when people get into a mob, when everybody is doing something, your morals start to diminish. They start to.
It's like scientifically proven that happens.
Like the mob's direction changes your morals. It deeply affects the way you do things. And then after the fact, humans, because we all do it, we justify what we have done because we don't want to be implicit in the blame. We don't want to be like, oh, that did get out of hand. oh man, I really regret that.
Right.
Like how many protesters are coming out after the fact and cleaning up the streets, helping people put together their businesses.
Yeah. Right, exactly, and that's a prime example of that is the image of the car dealership.
Yeah, yeah.
The car dealership that was a black-owned business, like a black-owned business.
Do we have that image?
That literally
Did you find
had
that?
it. Literally had Black Lives Matter. I didn't pull it up.
Oh, okay.
I'm not going to take the time to do it right now.
It's actually circulating a fair
It's
bit.
so-
I've seen it like
it's
3
so
times. It
ironic,
is literally
man.
a picture of a black-owned car dealership with the sign saying BLM.
I've seen that car dealership while I was working and driving.
And then all of the cars in the dealership are on fire. Mm-hmm. The protesters went to a black-owned business that was already saying Black Lives Matter, and they burned it to the fucking ground.
Yeah, and that's like the irony of this is that there's no the outrage that's happening is
It's not limited to the people who deserve the outrage.
it's like that's not the government building.
Like who?
That's
who-
not the police station that you think are deserving this. Like that's someone else in your community.
But it's because it's not guarded. It's not hard. They go for easy targets because,
Yeah,
I mean,
and they
the
just
hard
want-
targets are dangerous.
Right. And the thing is there's no actual message behind what they're doing. They're simply just very angry, very mad people. And in many, many, many ways, it is super justified why they are. But that doesn't make their actions or the way they're going about trying to get the problems resolved okay. Like it's
No.
not. It's
I
just
mean-
not okay.
So if we think about the Black Lives Matter movement being about Black Lives Matter and accountability for the crimes committed against black people here in America, the accountability for the situation that just happened will happen. You don't need to protest. One, the accountability is going to be that person who we're hearing is, I think he was stabilized in the hospital at this point in time, or
Yeah.
at least he's being tended to as best as we possibly can.
Yeah, I saw something like somebody last night posted that he had passed away, but it was only one person that I saw said that. But everything I've seen since said that he was still just in the hospital in critical condition since. So I don't know if it was just a rumor that he had died. I don't know. There's no official like announcement. You would think that if that was the thing, like actual news stations would have reported on that, and I haven't seen any of that yet. So I'm
Not
pretty
yet.
sure that
We-
he's still alive.
We can't speak on it yet, but the accountability for the situation is the cop is definitely going to be like on trial for this.
Yeah.
They're going to have to go through the whole situation. All of the evidence, all of the witnesses are going to be pulled forth. This is going to be accountable. It's going to happen. So what the fuck are people doing burning cars? There's
Right.
no accountability in that. That person isn't, the person who owned that dealership isn't going to get back on their feet.
Like you just fucked their
You
life.
just destroyed a person's life for no other reason other than you were angry.
Like somebody that could be you. And,
Yeah.
And the thing that's fucked up is it could be you next.
Yeah.
Like you don't know, like the next big thing that happens. Like what if it happens on your street near your house and your house gets burned down?
What if,
Like-
like, let's throw out a situation, like, even if you have Black Lives Matter in the window and something happens on your street, and then the mob comes on your street and they see that you are white, do you feel safe? Do you feel secure in your house? Do you feel the need to take your children and your family out of that situation because you are now in danger, even though you support Black Lives Matter?
Man, that's the thing about
Mob
this.
justice is fucked. It's always fucked, and it can never be trusted because the mob can be turned one way or the other by just a changing of what they're being shown.
And that's the hard part about this, man. This goes back to like the Shadowgate thing that we were talking about, and the dissemination of information through the media. And the thing is, every single media headline that I see, like talking about this, is like, black man gets shot in the back 7 times by white cop in Kenosha, Wisconsin.
Which makes it sound absolutely abhorrent.
Like, hello, fucking inflammatory.
Yeah.
Like,
Like,
I saw somebody posting in the comments on one of these things saying that it should literally be the law that when like things happen with the police and crime that they're not allowed to put anything out until the police report comes out. Like
That's not a terrible idea.
like until the police report comes out, because at this point literally the media and the things that people are seeing through these news stations and the way that the headlines are worded are creating this outrage in people, like before facts are even known, like before we even understand the situations.
The court of public opinion.
Yeah, it's and the thing is, once the public opinion is there, it doesn't matter. Literally, like there could be a video that comes out tomorrow from a different angle where this guy Jake
Could be pulling the gun out of
Jacob,
the car, and the cop who was there,
he could literally
saw
be
that
pulling the gun out of the car
before, and that's when the cop shot him.
and saying, "I'm gonna kill you," and then shot him, and it wouldn't matter.
No,
riots
because
riots will still happen. It doesn't matter because like people.
the first note is the loudest note.
Yeah, and that's all there is. It's the same thing with the George Floyd thing, man. Like it's this exact same thing. Like there's so much information that came out about like what was going on with this guy, and there's a very, very large possibility
Isn't
that
it
the
now
cop
that
didn't even kill him.
Yeah, isn't it now that he was actually like on a ketamine overdose? Like he was
Yeah.
currently on a ketamine overdose,
He-
and that's the reason why he kept saying
I can't
for
breathe.
like 9 minutes that he could not breathe.
Before
and
he
then
was
the
even
cops
touched.
put him on the ground, and he continued to say he could not breathe, and then he died from ketamine.
Yes, exactly. He had a heart attack.
That is
He had
the information that has come out about the George Floyd stuff.
Cardiac
But
arrest.
Have you heard about it? Does anybody know that this is actually what occurred with the George Floyd stuff?
Right.
No, because the thing that happened was public opinion created the narrative, and now the narrative's so
Mm-hmm.
loud and it's so far gone, no one even cares to look back on it, to
Yeah.
reevaluate. Was I misled? Am I believing something that might not be true? And then today, I'm very grateful that I have. Perhaps it's because it's people who know me, who have known me for a very long time. But I've had a number of discussions with people who have been posting things on social media about these things. And every time I saw the post being like, "This happened. Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter." I would just comment. I'd be like, did you see something I didn't see? Is there more information showing how this is racially motivated? And no one has that information. But I'm humbled and grateful enough that I've got people who would actually have conversations with me on social media, and we discussed how this isn't actually necessarily at this point a racial thing.
Right.
And they stopped doing the like promotion of it.
Right.
But the immediate response on Facebook is to see this, and you want to get those social points. You want everybody to see that you are getting this accreditation of like, I believe what everybody else believes, so everybody give me those social fucking drug points. I want to
Right.
get that hit of dopamine, please.
Right. And that's like that's a big part of the whole situation, man. There's literally in Portland, there's been riots going on for like 88 days straight. Like
You don't
nearly
hear about it anymore.
nearly $1 billion worth of damage done.
But it's been normalized.
And it got triggered and started by an event where all of the information wasn't out. People didn't know like what actually happened. There was just this. It's like this is like a. It's like a representation of like the state of like humanity's soul, almost like literally. It's like take the living in society is like being in a relationship almost. It's like being in a relationship with all of the other people and ideas and things that surround you, right? And you can look at any relationship and situation and see that there are situations that are presented or things that happen where people become very emotionally driven and they do shitty things. Like, have you ever been really mad at somebody and said something super fucked up
that you might not have
that you might not have meant because you didn't understand what was happening or where they were coming from, and you did something bad or mean? Like, yes,
We've all done
like
that.
every single person who is listening to this has done that. And this is this is like a representation of that same like
Carnal.
that same archetype being manifested in society. It's like
You see that?
it's like these people have all of this like corrupt energy and sadness and anger and all of these things about the world and their life because they were born into a shitty situation, put in a shitty situations. Bad things have happened to them.
They made bad decisions.
Right, like
It could be any myriad of all
right,
of those put together.
or they were good people and they always have been good people, but they kept getting dealt shitty hands over and over again. Right, it could be anything. But there's this buildup of bitterness and hatred and anger at what's going on and what's been going on.
And it needs an outlet.
And this is the outlet where it's coming out. That's why the facts don't matter. Like the facts don't matter. It doesn't matter what's justified or not. These people that are getting so upset are taking it as an opportunity to release that. And the only way that it's going to be fixed is the same way, in the same process that you go through fixing the way that you interact with somebody in relationships when you have anger problems or you yell or you say mean things. It's personal responsibility, man. Like you have to
stop,
and
listen.
you have to listen and look at yourself and understand that maybe there's a lot of things that you're justified about, but at the same time you have to understand that there's a lot of things that you might be wrong about and you're making things worse, like yourself. It's the exact same thing. It's like there's justification and but also corruption, like internally, and that's present in both sides of you. You know, that line is drawn right down the middle, good and evil. You know, it's separated, by the human heart.
I mean, there's that Native American saying that I think a lot of people have heard, where the great chieftain is talking to his son, and he says there are two wolves that live inside of you. There's one wolf that lives in all of the good, the love, the empathy, the connectedness, and the other wolf is hatred and greed and all the darkness. And the son asks, because the wolves are battling internally, he asks which wolf wins, and the father and chieftain says, whichever one you feed, make sure you're feeding the right wolf.
Right.
At all times, in all situations.
Yeah. And that's what's happening right now, man. That's what's happening right now with all of these things. It's like there's a humanity's shadow is manifesting, and
which can be very useful.
And the thing about the shadow is, it's not only a destructive force. Like, it's there for a purpose and for a reason.
It's how you heal those dark parts,
and it's how you reflect.
Yeah, because the darkness is always there inside of every person, and you try to hide it, you try to keep it bottled, you try to keep it contained, but when it comes out, you have an opportunity, and that opportunity is that you can heal, you can resolve it, you can make it die, or at least turn into something more useful, fruitful, beneficial for yourself and everybody else within the world. It makes me think about, like, these things would not be able to happen in the way that they are happening if we did not have the media that we currently do, or the social media that we currently do. Before the news stations started being like fast hits, like let's get the greatest clips out there, let's rile people up, let's get the numbers. Before that really started taking place, back when we were a little bit younger, something bad would happen. The news would talk about it. They'd be like, we don't have much information on this right now, but what we do know is this situation occurred, and we'll be filling you in as the police fill us in. And then you'd have to wait. The next day it comes out. What the situation was actually is this happened, the cops responded in this way, and then this happened. And then you're like, oh, see that? I thought that might have been different. That would have gotten me really upset. But now the way we do things, the way society in our country does things is what you said earlier. Black man shot by white cop 7 times. That's the headline. That's it. And they're not even going to follow up. They're not going to tell you anything more about it.
It was brought to the social and collective consciousness by a neighbor that was filming it. The guy who lived across the street. It had nothing to do with news.
It had nothing to do with the news.
It had nothing to do with anything. It was just an individual person, 10-second clip of this happening, and then considering the hyper
hyper tense situation. I don't know.
The hyper flammable state of people's minds and society went immediately to that. And
I mean, we went immediately there. We saw it at the same time, and we were like, dude, that fucking cop.
Yeah.
But then the information came out because we were looking for it, because we needed to know the full situation before we made a judgment on it.
Yeah.
And everybody should be acting in that fashion. Not that we are like the gold standard or anything like that, but God damn it, we were all taught to think better about things than what we're doing right now. We are being forced into this like carnal state where we're just like rah all the time.
Yeah.
And it is literally destroying our world.
Yeah, it is. This might be the thing that, see, I have a little bit of an idea, I guess, internally that a lot of these things are not happening on accident. You know, like the things that are being fed to us, where it's like all of the people that are getting so insanely riled up.
They're getting riled
about
up
this. They're getting riled
reason.
up on purpose.
Yeah.
Like
it's an agenda-based thing.
Yeah, where people are being basically like led, you know, by a rope. They're bringing the horse to the water and they're drinking. Like that's what's happening. And it's like, I don't know if it's necessarily long-term going to be a bad thing, because I think this might be like bringing the shadow of humanity forward, right? But right now, during this time band, it's fucking crazy. Like I regularly work in the city, and I'm driving around all the time, and I'm just waiting for the day.
Yeah,
I'm just waiting for the day that I drive on the freeway, and all of a sudden there's a protest stopping the freeway, and I'm trapped there, and I'm a white guy just chilling, and I'm like, it's in my head now constantly. Like
traveling to Chicago is the same thing for me.
Yeah,
because I could get down there to do whatever I'm doing, and then suddenly I could be trying to leave. All the bridges go up, and now I am a white guy.
You'd blend in. Don't worry.
Yeah, I definitely blend in.
You got the man bun, you know. You got the man bun. That's happening. All you have to do is just like walk around like, yeah, Black Lives Matter. I mean, you just sneak away.
that might be the only route to do in some of these situations. That's actually a good thing to just file away.
Just become a part of the mob. Yeah, and then just sneak away.
Yeah, get rid of all your camo stuff in your car. And we should honestly, I know we're making light of the situation, but at this point in time, we might want to get some Black Lives Matter gear to be able to hide.
Right.
So if we do find ourselves in a mob situation, we can really quick put on all of the gear and be like, hands up, I'm not doing nothing, guys. Like I'm right here. I'm not doing anything. I've never fought against you. I'm not your enemy.
I'm with you.
Like, it's ridiculous that we have to think about it this way.
Think about that. Yeah, for sure.
But there is literally a group of people wandering around this world that can go anywhere, do anything at any time with impunity, and literally beat you unconscious and put you in the hospital just because they have perceived you being something that they hate. Yeah,
with little to no repercussions. And that's the fucked up part about this. And that's why I think, man, this is a lot deeper into the government and conspiratorial than a lot of people think it is, especially people like who are on that side of the ball game, let's say, that are the very angry, riled up people. there's like, I lost my train of thought.
I don't know.
was I
I don't know if we need to continue anymore. I think we've got most of the ideas out there.
Yeah, for the most part. The main thing is, like, Black lives do matter, yes, but Black Lives Matter, the organization, is fucked, and they're preying on people's emotions.
They're preying upon the empathy of good people and doing bad stuff with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you find yourself like on that side, like, just understand there's a lot of justification for the things that you're feeling, but that doesn't mean or make any of the perpetuation of suffering right.
No.
In the riots and any of that. And
Causing destruction and destroying people's livelihoods, these things are not going to bring justice.
no,
They are going to just create more strife.
it's gonna make it worse. You're gonna polarize people to your cause, and you make yourself look like the enemy, unfortunately. And
Good people becoming the enemy.
yeah, and like, none of those people are like ultimately bad people. They're just people who are living in reaction and lacking a certain level of awareness or a certain level of information.
Not acting from a place of love and understanding.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate
Because you can act and do really great things, and you can fucking change the world from a place of love and understanding. But it does look different than what we are seeing.
Yeah.
This is not that.
For sure. And that's the last thing really that I want to close with is, a lot of people can argue against and bring up ideas and points of like, well, if these things were happening to you and your people and you weren't outraged and you weren't mad and you weren't this and you weren't that, like, what would you do? It's like, okay, it's very hard to reason with people who aren't willing to listen, I guess. So we just have to watch it play out now at this point, and hope that at some point in time enough damage is done and people be like, all right.
I'd like to believe that if terrible things like oppression and these sorts of things that the Black Lives Matter group rightfully says they are experiencing, if these things were happening to me, I really, really hope I would not be acting in the ways that I am seeing people act.
Yeah. And
I don't think everybody is.
Yeah.
I don't think all of the Black community is out here doing these terrible things. I think it's a lot of people who don't have the right to be there doing those things.
Yeah.
Who haven't even felt the real outrage. They're feeling other people's emotions and reacting to those things without any clarification or justification.
Yeah.
This is fucking heavy. Let's wrap it up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's about all we can say for that for today.
Those are our opinions, and obviously, as always, make sure you're not listening to any one source, any one people. Vary everything you get and try to make the best formulation of your opinions as you possibly can.
Yeah, for sure. But all right, folks, if you have questions, comments, concerns, ideas, leave them in the comments. Let us know, and we will definitely respond. So we will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.